Well, then it is a strange that the deputy minority leader is speaking the way he explained. The budget must be approved, and when we are all clear that the budget is approved, then we go to the various estimates for the appropriation bill to be passed to allow the executive to start spending from 1st January. If you don't agree to the approval by the majority, you have no business going to look at the estimate. So that is very basic. So from what he indicated, it is clear to me that the minority has accepted the budget and they are working with all other processes that go with a budget that is accepted.
So they are not two separate things to you. The policy is the policy. You either accept it or reject it. If you're working with it, it means that you have accepted it.
Yes.
But he also says that, well, they still have an opportunity. Of course, they expect that the E-levy will be brought in as a separate tax measure with a law to pass it, so they can tackle it as a single item. You also agree that they have that opportunity, that window there?
Actually, there are specific things that can go separately. But remember, a chunk of the budget is about fiscal engagement. And the core of the fiscal engagement in the 2022 budget is the revenue measure that the government proposes. And looking at that separately is not in consonance with good judgment. That is the core. So if it is unacceptable, it is unacceptable. The only point that I believe that thing should have been brought as a separate bill or document to be considered by Parliament is when the majority agrees that all the issues raised by the public and other key stakeholders have been considered, and we want to shelve it and do broader consultation over time. See, you can go back in history, what happened in 1995 when the VAT bill was brought to Parliament. And the public spoke vehemently against it. And the government at the time realized that VAT was going to revolutionize revenue mobilization for the country. They retreated, considered it over 2.5-year period, and brought it back, and it was passed. So if that is the case, the minimum period I would have given is a 6-month period for which that will be tabled during the mid-year review, which allow for new policy infusion. But the way the minority is talking, I believe that they have approved the budget, they have accepted the approval, and they are working with it.
But if you listen to the government carefully, they seem not to be in the mood to retreat. They are insisting on this particular measure, the E-levy, in the current form it is, because they believe that it will get them demanding that they pull it out, because immediately the public greeted it with that kind of anger. It should have been pulled out, consultations held before it is put in. But is government not also accountable to a certain extent that they are the ones who are supposed to provide leadership in this kind of circumstances?
You see, that is true. But when you have a government that believes that whatever they wish they will get, and they can get the minority to support them in whatever way, you don't see a different expression in the faces of government officials. So it's because they believe whatever they wish, they will get it from the minority. I believe you will recall that the finance minister said whatever means they will pass for the minority to come to the table, they will do. So perhaps they are doing that. And even though this task has a huge electoral cost, but there is that misconception that when you do some of these things very early, the people tend to forget. But they have also things that you do very that across board, including your party members, have rejected, that you impose on them, that the people will forget easily. And of course, you know that it is like, of course, you know that those who are managing the economy on the ticket to the M, that will not be seeking
Hello, Prof.
Hello.
Okay, so I lost you briefly there. You were talking
Yeah.
about the fact that a lot of the people involved, in fact, the president himself, will not be
Yes.
seeking re-election.
Yes. So.
So you understand perfectly the fact that they are ready to risk it, but they are throwing the vice president into the mix. Hello, Prof. No, I think we have a difficulty. Okay, so we'll try and get Prof back and conclude our conversation with Prof because the network isn't so helpful. Well, Prof has a different opinion from what the minority leader, the deputy minority leader, told us this morning. He is of the opinion that once you started looking at the estimates, it means that you have accepted the approval of the budget, and therefore the minority cannot say that, well, the policy they have an issue with, but they can consider the estimates. So we'll try and get Prof back and conclude the conversation with Prof. I lost Prof, so please try and get him back for me. Well, let me do a couple of your messages. Kwame answers, the timing of the budget is very unique. They knew what they were presenting and the opposition ahead of them. Okay. Sauda Glad, if she couldn't go into the box, she'll go into the parliamentary box. Abdurrahman, wonderful to see you. Dennis Nuchuga says, when is Ready Gold coming back? Isifu Musa is also joining us. Albert Diwanu is also joining us. Maria Adam says, so Utumfo does not know that we have some people in Ghana who are denied their right to vote during the election. What is more frustrating than this? Pastors want us to fast and pray because of useless budget, but did not do same when 8 innocent souls were lost during the election. Hypocrites. That's coming from Maria Adams. Lordina Sadiq is joining us. Anita Edu is also joining us. Akoto Samson is joining us. Good morning to Azeman from Azeman Ventures, Krodom Opposite Market. Says government is creating TVET education. TVET education from the Ghana service. Ghana Education Service is a good idea because it will help them to improve technical and vocational skills. Prof, you were talking about the government's readiness to bear the political cost, and I was also drawing your attention to, before I lost you, the fact that the vice president also has presidential ambitions, which a lot of people believe is backed by the presidency, and that should at least give them some worry.
Well, I think I don't need to explain further. You listen to all the government communicators. They don't count the cost of what they are doing. In fact, they are literally insulting the public. A minister of a region said, those who are complaining about hardship, it is because they are spending beyond their means. Some others say that those who are complaining, they are NDC public. So you could see clearly that they don't consider what you are talking about. and they have gotten whatever they want to do from 2017 to date. They have been able to get the support, even though the minority have been complaining about the banking sector cleanup and its costs. But they have continuously gotten the support to approve the same thing that the minority claims they don't like. So that is what they have known, and they believe they are getting it. So it's as simple as that.
And on the matter of the E-levy, I think your proposal is clear.
Mm.
But based on what you're saying, do you see a sense where it can be really rejected?
Well, if you can reject it as part of the budget, so why are you working on the budget, which is supposedly approved later? Why are you working on it? I don't have problem if the minority say that, look, we have done our best. We have stated our mind. The executive say they can't do otherwise. If we were to be in power, we wouldn't impose this. This is what they want. And you work with that. Then Ghanaians see some principles that have been articulated. But as it is now, the minority have to be very careful to strategize what they are doing. If not so, because I've started reading in various places that people are accusing the minority of a sell-off, and that is not good for the image of the minority and the NDC party that wishes to come to power. There is nothing wrong when you say, well, we have settled our position. The government is bent on doing what they are. After all, you are not the one doing it. But they have created the impression that they have the power to stop. So the public is believing that they are not exercising that power to stop. So they have to look at it critically. They are not the one unleashing this kind of levy on the people. But at the end of the day, if they are not careful, the political fortune and benefit that should accrue to the NDC will be eroded.
So which means you even have the problem with, because I listening to the Asantini, the impression of frustrating government business and also dictating policy to government are two things that come clearly from his speech about what is happening in Parliament. You think minority needs to look at how it is approaching the matter?
Yes, which among the chiefdom or the chieftaincy and traditional arena of our stakeholders, which of them is coming boldly with a cloud to support the minority view? Who have they engaged? The government is engaging people across board. So it is not about only the minority being in parliament and doing press conference. It's about what you are doing. Among the elite in the society, who have they caught? Who is also speaking the way they are expressing themselves? So that's a lesson the minority should learn. If they don't learn it, you hear some of these things and then they will overshadow and put pressure on you. So they should learn minority job is not by the few minority people in parliament who come from time to time to make press conferences. You go beyond that. Your strategy of engagement. You remember after the minority rejected the budget, we didn't see any action, not any voice. We started hearing from the majority pressing the panic button. There will be a state of emergency declared if the budget is not approved. They engage a lot of media houses, and they were focusing on what is their view. The minority was missing. It was only when the budget was supposedly approved, that was only then that we saw the minority. And at that press conference, the minority did not say categorically that we rejected what happened and we will not work with it. Of course, they are working with it. So what is their strategy of engagement? If they assume that minority job is for the leadership to speak, come to radio station, articulate issues, then they are making a big mistake. My fear for them is that gradually this will be blame on them. I believe you heard the vice president say that they are going to do a brand new skills training, so and so. What is that going to do? After the budget is approved, the E-levy is approved, they will come out and say that is one of the products of the E-levy. Are you getting the point? So you see, the minority should wake up and embrace broad-based political communication strategy and engagement. They are not doing that. They are not doing that. So that's the point. Do you know the number of technical and vocational secondary schools we have in the country? Don't we deserve a policy that will retool, re-empower, build capacity, provide machines that they need for the work? What is different in terms of that secondary school they are going to do? It's just a political strategy. So you can sit in parliament once a while and make press conference. Once a while and come to Good Morning Ghana, go to TV3 and the rest, and you believe that you are doing something. But the real game is about political communication and engagement.
But, Prof, the E-levy seems to by itself be an unpopular policy measure. The question is, if it is not pushed by the minority in the manner in which it is being pushed, then who will the citizen count on?
Yeah, that is the reason why their package of strategy in dealing with this should be broad-based and well-defined. I think you are getting my point. They have become the voice of the public. So there's no doubt about that. But is it the discussion didn't end after they rejected the budget? The discussion continues. Various views. How many of the legal luminary of the minority did they release to reposition what happened in Parliament? But the MPP did that. You see, MPP did that. So from the legal front, whether they are right or wrong, they have positioned their mind of the people that they were the one doing the writing. If you go to your friends in the media, I was on a station, and I have to be very hard with the moderator, the one who was asking me the question. Hello, please, don't go that way, because we still have over a month to do engagement and approve the budget in a revised form. Don't buy into that idea. But the following day, that was the trend of discussion across the country. And it continues, you know. But what is the strategy of the minority? Once a while, come and give a press conference. In my language, they say that it is when you have people that you can wake up at midnight to go to private. So if the minority thinks
and so far you don't see the minority getting the people on board, whatever they are pushing, and I think that point is clearly made. But Prof, what is your own stance on the E-levy issue?
I think I've made that point clearly, that it's a disruptive task. It is a standard expressive desperation of the government. So there are two approaches to this. The government feed some of its interests and buy into the interests of the people. Some people are saying start from 500 Ghana cedis as a threshold, exempt a number of transactions, use around between 0.5 to 1%. That would have been an engagement that may sit down well with Ghanaians. especially when the government expresses desperation of revenue. Because on the other hand, if the government doesn't find itself midway, the effect will be on the citizens. But you are not the one introducing it. So if you say, fine, if you are bent on introducing it and you are making the point that without this, nothing can go on, let's go halfway. I believe that is the point we have gotten to now.
The point of consultation led by the executive.
To agree on something that is not the original proposition by the government, and that may not necessarily be the original proposition by all other stakeholders. That is what we call consultation and engagement. It's a bargain.
Well, I don't know what you think will happen to this budget. Essentially, even if it's forced through, there are those who are even projecting that even the E-levy, the projections the government is making, and the kind of, whether you are looking at some 241 million that they are planning to give to somebody in the name of e-transaction levy services, among others, that they will not get the money. The money will be blown on things that they initially didn't project to spend it on. Do you agree this may be going in a direction that may result in a failure of this budget if they push it in the manner in which they are doing?
Well, I feel anything that you are pushing and you are not ready to give in, I think there is something inherent in it. So people may not be wrong when they are suggesting some of these issues, and especially when it has been indicated in the budget that about 241 million Ghana cedis will be given to a collector. See, those things are there in the budget, but you see the majority after 2 weeks of being caught in that, they started changing the narration 2 days ago. Did you hear the voice of the minority on that to counter? No. They are now saying that you should forget about those talking about a company going to collect that E-levy. GRA is going to collect it. Did you hear the minority? So I think those are the you see, you don't start something and start looking back. If you start a fight, you must be ready to finish the fight.